ISIS to destabilize Assad, and she's exactly right, by the way. She's allied with Republican Congressman Adam Scott of Georgia to write a bill aimed at ending what she characterizes as the illegal war to overthrow Assad. Assad, again, accused of killing thousands of Syrian citizens and believed to have used chemical weapons on his own people. Gabbard, though, said the U.S. is waging two wars in Syria. The first is the war against ISIS and other Islamic extremists, which Congress authorized after the terrorist attack on 9/11. The second war is the illegal war to overthrow the Syrian government of Assad. CIA, it's estimated that the CIA had trained 10,000 fighters since 2013. They supported the so-called moderate rebels in Syria, successfully putting pressure on Assad's forces. However, now they're facing Russian bombardment with little hope of U.S. intervention. Congress actually threatened to cut the CIA's budget due to poor results. But again, whenever Congress is trying to do something to the CIA, it really hasn't amounted to anything at all. But we do know as well, and hopefully you do know, that the CIA has been involved. As a matter of fact, even the Pentagon, it wasn't all that long ago, it was a leaked document or a declassified document from the Pentagon basically saying that yes, we created ISIS, that we did it for our own goals, for our own agenda, that we knew that it could lead to something bad by unleashing these radical Islamists in that region, but that we did it anyway. And you know that Saddam Hussein was again, as mentioned, he was a CIA, however you want to put it, puppet, ally, plant. Osama bin Laden, the same thing. And we have the leader of ISIS. This from Hang the Bankers, the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, who is a confirmed CIA puppet. This was according to article from 2014. According to a document recently released, this was by Edward Snowden, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, is an intelligent asset. The NSA document reveals the United States, Israel, and Britain are responsible for the creation of ISIS. Again, this is a leaked Edward Snowden NSA document. And by the way, again, that fits in even going back to, again, that book of Daniel, where you have this, a lot of people, and by the way, I posted something on, again, the American Faith Today Facebook page. I shared it in one or two spots on Facebook that allegedly now, there was an incident, and this former, I don't remember what his title was, if he was defense minister or what his title was, not currently in the Israeli government, but he was in the Israeli government, and he claims that there was an incident in which ISIS fired on the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and when ISIS did that, afterwards they immediately apologized for firing on Israel and for firing on the IDF. This according to, again, a former Israeli government official. We do know that as well, that al-Baghdadi took intensive military training for a whole year in the hands of Mossad, obviously kind of the Israeli CIA, besides courses in theology and the art of speech. In June, a Jordanian official told Aaron Klein of WorldNet Daily, ISIS members were trained in 2012 by U.S. instructors working at a secret base in Jordan. In 2012, it was reported the U.S., Turkey, and Jordan were running a training base for the Syrian rebels in the Jordanian town of Safawi. Al-Baghdadi, reportedly a civilian internee at Camp Buka, a U.S. military detention facility in Iraq. But again, he was trained, and many of these ISIS fighters trained by our CIA, trained by U.S. forces to go and to basically, when it comes down to it, fight against the regime, fight against the government of Assad in hopes of overthrowing Assad. And it's the same thing that's going on, not necessarily with North Korea and the CIA, although I'm sure that they're involved, but it's the same thing that's going on right now with North Korea. You know, we've got this narrative out there that North Korea is this great threat to the United States, this great nuclear threat to the U.S., this great nuclear threat to South Korea, this great nuclear threat to Japan. And every time, or almost every time, that North Korea test launches a missile or a rocket, I believe it's 88% of the time that they've tested something, it's failed, including the most recent 2, 3, 4 times, whatever it is, that they've tested it since we basically have escalated things over there. And, you know, is Kim Jong-un more than likely a maniacal, crazy goofball of a dictator? Yeah, he seems to be. But at the same time, we've had our troops over there at the border basically since the end of the Cold War, if you will, since the end of the Korean War. And now we're escalating things by sending more troops over there. And as goofy and as maniacal and as screwed up as Kim Jong-un is, if we're going to escalate things over there, of course he's going to escalate or try to do something back to us to show that he's not just some, weak little, 98-pound weakling or whatever. And I even saw a story, by the way, that and again, for time's sake, I'll just have this on the Facebook page. This Hornberger's blog basically saying the Pentagon and the CIA, it's from a couple weeks back, the Pentagon and the CIA are the cause of the Korean crisis. And I'll give you an opportunity to read that. This guy, Jacob G. Hornberger, he is, let me scroll down here, founder and president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, BA in economics from VMI, law degree from the University of Texas. He's advanced freedom and free markets on talk radio stations all across the country, as well as on Fox News' Neil Cavuto, Greta von Susteren, Andrew Napolitano show Freedom Watch, LouRockwell.com, etc., etc., etc. But basically, this guy has written an article saying that, again, the Pentagon and the CIA, the cause of the Korean crisis, because we're over there, because we're trying to flex our might, because we're trying to intimidate them, and naturally he doesn't want to be intimidated. But I saw even a story that their missiles actually have bent nose cones. I don't know if all of their missiles have bent nose cones, but certainly a fair number of their missiles have bent nose cones. And obviously a missile with a bent nose cone isn't going to fly very well. I mean, this is a country that is very poor. This is a country that talks loud, but really doesn't have a whole lot of anything. And yet we're to believe that they're the most grave, most dangerous nuclear threat on the planet right now. And, recently, of course, we dropped what was called the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan on these tunnels that ISIS and the Taliban and, this underground tunnel system, these caves that ISIS was using as a means of planning, as a means of escaping. Well, we dropped the mother of all bombs on that area, on that network of caves and that network of tunnels. And it came out from WikiLeaks. Guess who built the Afghan tunnels that we had just bombed? They were built by the CIA. And so there you go again. And by the way, we are still, of course, fighting ISIS over there in Afghanistan. We're still fighting Islamic insurgents, Islamic militants over there in Afghanistan. So we did not exactly bomb them into submission, but this mentioned that these tunnels, again, built by the CIA. They were part of a CIA finance complex built for the Mujahideen, which again is supposed to be part of the bad guys that we're fighting against, right? Well, the CIA built them so that these Islamic extremists could actually use them, and this appeared in not just on a leak by WikiLeaks, but it was from a New York Times article from 2005 describing a similar cave complex in detail, and added a few additional details worth noting. Tora Bora, as it's known, contains fortified caves, which were reported to contain miles of tunnels, bunkers, and base camps dug deeply into the steep rock walls. The tunnels were built by the CIA with the help of the bin Laden family, who constructed the complex. So again, the people that we supposedly are fighting, this war on terror that we are engaging in, again, with Islamic extremists supposedly being against America, against our lifestyle, going to attack us at any time, and they've been working hand in hand with the CIA for basically probably as however far back you want to go. That's how long they've been working together. And like I said, that's just touching on, even with all that I've said, that's just touching, I'm sure, on what the CIA has been involved in, the rogue activities, as mentioned on this show, on these two shows, as you can find online, as you'll be able to read in the links that I provide on Facebook, the setting up and tearing down of regimes, the drug trafficking, and the espionage, the vote rigging, the assassination attempts and plots, and again, working with people that we supposedly are fighting against. After all, Islamic terror is the biggest threat to the Western world and to the world at large, and Islamic terror being funded by, being supported by, being trained by our good old American Central Intelligence Agency. It is horrific. It is appalling. It is disgusting. It is abominable. It is whatever other adjective that you want to use. But I do want to say this. And again, sometimes I regret, because shows like this, like I said, the time flies. And I sometimes always feel like I've left something out, or I haven't hit the point as well as I ideally would like. But the CIA, I do want to say this, the CIA has been involved in all kinds of rogue, disgusting activities to prop themselves up, to enrich themselves, to have their perverse agenda and the perverse agenda of the globalists and of the Kenites fulfilled. But remember this, nothing, and I mean nothing, goes unanswered for. Nothing is unseen by God. Nobody gets away with anything in this world. They don't. I mean, you might get away with something in man's eyes. You might get past something in our court system, in our legal system. God keeps better records than man does, friend. And anyone who does anything, whether it's this, anything that you want to call a crime, a sin, they'll answer for it. Unless they repent. In which, if they repent, they repent. But if they don't repent, they'll answer for it. And just remember that God is in control. Everything, like I said, will be answered for. Nothing escapes His notice. He's got it all handled. That's about all the time that I do have for this show. And like I said, because time flies by so fast, do your own research into this. There's plenty of research out there. Make up your own mind, but certainly do dig into it and educate yourself. We don't have to be fearful of anything in this world, but we should always be aware. I'm Jason Hawes. You've been listening to American Faith Today. Have a great day. Have a great week. Take care. God bless. 1, 2, 3, 4.